22 years, 5 nominations, 0 wins.
We must act now on
The
climate
most
change.
famous
The time
actor
for
on the
hesitation
planet
is over.
couldn't win a
Our
golden
future
statue
and our
that
children's
unknowns
depends on
took
the
home on
choices
their
we make
first
today.
try.
We must
There
take
was a man
action
who
now
spent
to
half
protect
his
our
life
planet's
crawling
future.
through
It's
frozen
our
rivers, eating
responsibility
raw
to
liver,
future generations.
and transforming into characters
The
so
time for half
completely
measures is over.
that audiences
We must act
forgot they were
now,
watching a
collectively, to
performance.
secure our future.
Critics called him a genius. The box office called him a king. But one institution refused to call his name. The world watched
We must
as
act
rejection
now,
became
not
a curse,
tomorrow.
then
The
a joke,
time for change
and a
is
cultural
today.
phenomenon
Are
that
you
haunted
with me?
him longer than any role ever.
Thank you
Good.
so much for
If the
this
pattern had
incredible
broken
honor.
sooner,
This award means
maybe
the
things
world
would
to
be
me,
different.
and I am deeply grateful.
Maybe he wouldn't have pushed his body
is
to
quite
the
the
edge
event,
of death
isn't
in
it?
the Canadian
It
wilderness.
is, but I'm glad I'm
Maybe
here
the
with you.
memes wouldn't have
Me
become
too.
more famous than his
The
filmography.
time for half measures is over.
Maybe.
We must act now to
The need to
protect our
prove
planet.
himself
The
wouldn't have
stakes have never
consumed
been
everything
higher.
else.
It's a great
here's what
honor to
nobody
be here with
asks.
my friend Al Pacino.
What happens to a man who wins
Together,
everything
we can make a real
and still feels
difference.
empty?
Thank you.
Who saves
This is an
rainforests
incredible honor.
but flies private
I want to
jets,
thank my fellow
who dates the
nominees,
most beautiful
the
women
Academy,
in the
and
world,
everyone who
but
made this
never lets
possible.
any of them stay
The
past
nations of
their
the world must
25th
take
birthday.
immediate action to address the
Who
climate
builds
crisis.
a legacy on
The
screen,
science is clear,
but
and the
nothing
time for
that lasts
hesitation is
beyond
over.
it. How does a boy from the poorest streets of Hollywood become the richest prisoner of his own fame? Why did the industry that made him a god spend 2 decades refusing to give him the one thing he desperately wanted? When he finally got it, why did it feel like he'd won a battle but lost something far more valuable? Before answering those questions, we go back. Back to the cracked sidewalks. Back to the 3 bus rides with his mother. Back to the moment a child made a promise that would either save him or destroy him, because the Leonardo DiCaprio of the world worships is just the character he's been playing for 50 years. The real story is the one he's been hiding behind the cameras all along. East Hollywood in the 1970s and 80s was not the glittering paradise tourists imagined. It was a war zone where dreams came to die, drug deals on corners, prostitutes on the boulevard, sirens cutting through the night, and in the middle of it, all a small apartment where Ermeline DiCaprio raised her son alone, working multiple jobs just to keep food on the table. Leonardo's childhood home sat near Hollywood Boulevard and Western Avenue, a name that promised glamour but delivered only grit. He remembered being jumped for his bike, seeing things no child should see, learning early how fragile safety really was. His mother became both shield and anchor in a storm that never ended. She fled Germany for opportunity and found herself barely making rent, while her son watched her carry burdens too heavy for one person. She took him everywhere. 3 buses, 2 auditions, walking miles when money ran short, sitting in waiting rooms filled with other desperate families chasing the same impossible dream. His father, George, remained present but distant and underground. Comic artist living on the margins, offering creativity but not stability. School was another battlefield. Bright but restless, labeled a troublemaker, different from classmates whose lives felt easier, safer. By 10 years old, Leonardo understood life was not fair. An opportunity did not come to those who waited. You wanted something better. You fought for it. He began auditioning young, not pushed by ambition-hungry parents, but by a mother desperate to give him options. Commercials, television spots, anything that paid, most doors stayed closed. "You're not what we're looking for" became routine. For 3 years he collected rejection like baseball cards. A short-lived role on Parenthood, then Santa. Barbara. Work, but not momentum. Then Growing Pains in 1991, playing a homeless teen. Millions saw him, but he feared being trapped as the cute television kid. While the show aired, he auditioned relentlessly for films. In 1993 came this boy's life opposite Robert De Niro. Terrified, he matched him scene for scene. Critics noticed. That same year, What's Eating Gilbert Grape earned him an Academy Award nomination at 19. He didn't win, but he was no longer a sitcom kid. Then Romeo plus Juliet in 1996 made him a teen idol. And Titanic in 1997 detonated into a global phenomenon, over $2 billion worldwide. At 23, Leonardo DiCaprio became the most famous man on the planet, and it felt like a prison. Paparazzi hunted him. Privacy vanished. Worse, credibility slipped. Titanic won 11 Oscars. He wasn't nominated. The message seemed clear. Box office success and artistic respect did not coexist for him. After Titanic, he stumbled with The Man in the Iron Mask and The Beach, choices driven by fear of irrelevance. Then Martin Scorsese entered his life. Gangs of New York in 2002 stripped away the teen idol image. The Aviator in 2004 earned him a nomination. He lost. The whispers grew louder. 4 nominations, 0 wins. The internet turned his losses into memes. The Departed won Best Picture without nominating him. Inception earned multiple nominations but ignored his performance.
We must act
Django
now on
Unchained
climate
saw
change.
him
The time
bleed
for
on
hesitation
camera
is over.
and still
Our
walk
future
away
and our children's
empty-handed.
depends on the choices we make
The
today.
Wolf of Wall Street
We
in
must take
2013
action now
felt
to protect our planet's
undeniable.
future. It's
He
our
lost again.
responsibility to future generations.
By then, the narrative
the
overshadowed
time for
the
half
book.
measures is over. We must
wasn't
act
just an
now,
actor.
collectively, to secure our
He
future.
was the man who couldn't win an Oscar. In 2015, he chose The Revenant, agreeing to suffer in sub-zero temperatures,
We must
crawl
act
through
now,
snow,
not tomorrow.
eat raw
The
bison
time for
liver,
change is today.
and push
Are
himself
you with
to
me?
physical collapse.
Thank
The
you
film
so
became
much
a
for this
referendum
incredible
on his
honor.
career.
This award means
In
the world to me,
2016,
and I am
after
deeply
22
grateful.
years, his name was finally
This is quite the
called.
event, isn't
He
it?
won.
It is.
The theater
But I'm glad I'm
erupted.
here with you.
Me
Relief
too.
washed over him,
The
but
time
so
for
did
half
exhaustion.
measures is over. We must
The
act now
statue
to
felt
protect our
smaller
planet. The
than he
stakes have
imagined.
never been higher.
Victory came
It's
with
a
an
great
ache
honor
he
to
couldn't
be here
name.
with my friend Al
Parallel
Pacino.
to his acting career,
Together,
he built an
we can make a
environmental
real
legacy.
difference.
Founding
Thank you.
his
This is an
foundation
incredible
in
honor.
1998
I want to thank
and
my fellow
donating
nominees,
millions
the
to
Academy, and
conservation
everyone
and
who made
climate
this possible.
causes.
The nations of
He
the world
addressed
must
the
take
United
immediate action
Nations,
to address the
produced
climate crisis. The
documentaries,
science is clear, and the time for
invested in
hesitation is
renewable
over.
energy. Yet criticism followed: private jets, yachts, carbon footprints that contradicted his message. He acknowledged the tension, but never fully resolved it. His romantic life became another lightning rod. Over decades, he dated women consistently under 25. The pattern became a viral graph, a cultural joke, then a criticism about power, dynamics, and arrested development. He never publicly explained it, insisting on privacy. The silence fueled more questions than answers. At 50, he has wealth, acclaim, and a filmography that will endure. But no wife, no children, no personal legacy beyond his work and foundation. Friends describe generosity and loyalty, but also walls high, impenetrable. He achieved everything professionally, yet the question lingers. What was it all for? The Oscar sits on a shelf. The island remains quiet. The applause fades. The films endure. But the man behind them remains unseen. Leonardo DiCaprio's story is neither pure triumph nor tragedy. It is a complicated reflection of ambition colliding with an industry that consumes. He escaped poverty, conquered Hollywood, won the award that haunted him, and built a legacy of art and activism. Yet success demanded privacy, youth, normalcy. He proved he was worthy of love from an industry that withheld it for decades, but perhaps never paused long enough to build love beyond it. Behind every legend is a person, flawed and searching. And sometimes, even when you win everything, you're still trying to find the one thing no statue, no yacht, no standing ovation can provide. And maybe that is the quiet truth that lingers, long after the headlines fade. Because when the cameras turn off and the premieres end, when the standing ovations dissolve into memory, what remains is not the box office numbers or the Oscar speech. What remains is a man alone with his thoughts, carrying decades of expectation that began long before the world ever knew his name. Leonardo DiCaprio built his life on intensity. Every role demanded total immersion. Every collaboration with directors, like Martin Scorsese, required surrendering ego for excellence. Every public appearance required composure, charm, control. For 50 years, he has performed not just on screen, but in interviews, at award shows, at climate summits, at charity galas. The performance of being Leonardo DiCaprio may be the longest role he has ever played. There is something uniquely isolating about that level of fame. Ordinary mistakes become global headlines. Ordinary relationships become dissected case studies. Ordinary contradictions become moral debates. When he boards a private jet, it is not transportation, it is a symbol. When he dates a younger woman, it is not romance, it is a narrative. When he chooses a film, it is not work, it is strategy. The world rarely allows him to simply exist, and yet, despite the scrutiny, he He keeps working, keeps choosing directors who challenge him, keeps aligning himself with projects that carry weight and meaning, keeps funding environmental initiatives that, regardless of criticism, protect real forests, real oceans, real species. There is persistence in that. Refusal to retreat fully into comfort. Refusal to disappear into luxury. Perhaps the boy who rode 3 buses across Los Angeles still lives inside him. The child who watched his mother struggle and vowed to make it worth something. That vow may explain everything: the hunger, the perfectionism, the relentless need to prove. When you grow up without security, success is not a trophy, it is armor. It is protection against ever returning to the vulnerability you once knew too well. But armor, worn too long, becomes heavy. At some point, the hunger that drives greatness can also prevent rest. It's the same fire that fuels extraordinary performances, can burn through intimacy. The same discipline that builds a career can quietly dismantle the softer parts of life: patience, vulnerability, compromise.
We must act now on climate change. The time for hesitation is over. Our future and our children's depends on the choices we make today. We must take action now to protect our planet's future. It's our responsibility to future generations.
Men chasing money,
The time for half measures is over. We must act now, collectively, to secure our
From the manic ambition
future.
of Jordan Belfort to the brutal endurance of Hugh Glass, his greatest performances have lived in extremes. Chaos has been his canvas.
We must act now,
Suffering
not
has been his
tomorrow.
showcase.
The time for change is
Transformation has been
today.
his signature.
Are you with me?
But what does an actor who mastered chaos do
Thank
when
you
life
so much
demands
for this
stillness?
incredible honor. This award
There's a
means the
quiet
world
shift
to
that
me,
happens
and I
to
am
stars
deeply
who survive
grateful.
long enough. The
This is
hunger
quite
that
the
once
event,
made
isn't
them
it?
magnetic can
It
start
is,
to look like
but I'm glad I'm here with you.
restlessness.
Me too.
The time for half measures is over. We must act now to protect our planet. The stakes have never been higher. It's a great honor to be here with my friend Al Pacino. Together, we can make a real difference. Thank you. This is an incredible honor. I want to thank my fellow nominees, the Academy, and everyone who made this possible. The nations of the world must take immediate action to address the climate crisis. The science is clear, and the time for hesitation is over.
That is a different kind of pressure, because legacy isn't built on risk alone, not built on reflection. Wisely, on knowing when to speak and when to step back, on understanding that every appearance, every partnership, every relationship now feeds into a narrative that will outlive him. He has always been strategic. Careful with interviews, selective with scripts, protective of his privacy. But time has a way of forcing even the most guarded people to confront themselves. Friends settle down. Parents age. The circle shrinks. The applause fades faster than it used to. And somewhere in the quiet, the questions get louder. Was the sacrifice worth it? The missed birthdays? The relentless press cycles? The years of being photographed more than being understood? The constant scrutiny of who he dates, what he wears, where he vacations, the jokes, the memes, the expectations. Was it worth becoming a symbol if it meant rarely being seen as simply a man? Maybe the answer changes depending on the day, because here's the truth few people admit about superstardom. It solves financial problems, but it rarely solves emotional ones. It amplifies everything: success, loneliness, validation, doubt, gives you access to the world, but often distances you from normalcy. And yet he stayed. He didn't burn out publicly. He didn't implode. He didn't disappear into scandal. The way so many child stars did, he endured. He evolved. It itself is rare. At 50, the story is no longer about whether he is talented. That was settled decades ago. It's no longer about whether he deserved the Oscar. He earned it. It's no longer about whether he is bankable. He is. Now the story is about meaning. What does he want the second half of his life to stand for? More. Iconic performances? Very possible. A defining late-career masterpiece, likely a quieter personal life. Perhaps a shift from global celebrity to respected elder statesman of cinema. Almost inevitable, or maybe something completely unexpected. Maybe the most radical thing Leonardo DiCaprio could do at this stage of his life is step away from the noise entirely. Choose fewer films, live more privately. Let the myth breathe without constantly feeding it. Because legends are not only made by what they do, they are also shaped by what they choose not to do. And if the first half of his life was about proving he belonged in Hollywood's history, the second half may be about proving he belongs in his own, not as an icon, not as a headline, not as a meme, not as a box office guarantee, but as a man who finally stopped chasing the horizon and realized he had already arrived. And arriving for someone like him might feel unfamiliar because arrival suggests completion. And completion can feel dangerously close to irrelevance in an industry built on constant reinvention. Hollywood does not reward comfort. It rewards momentum, reinvention. Reinvention again. It celebrates the comeback almost more than the consistency. But Leonardo was never really a comeback story. He was a slow burn, a steady climb, a career built not on scandal spikes or tabloid implosions, but on calculated patience, on waiting. For the right scripts, the right directors, the right timing, while others chased quantity, he chose curation, while others overshared. He stayed silent. Silence became part of his mystique. Yet silence can also become isolation. There's a strange paradox that comes with global fame. Millions feel like they know you, yet very few actually do. The image becomes clearer than the person, the persona louder than the private voice. And over time, it can be tempting to live inside the version of yourself that the world applauds, the intense one, the environmental, the enigmatic bachelor, the perfectionist actor. But beneath all of that, there is simply a human being growing older in real time. 50 is not old, but it is reflective. It is an age where illusions thin out, where the body reminds you of limits, where friends begin to face health scares, where parents are no longer invincible, where the future feels shorter than the past. And perhaps that is where the real evolution begins. Maybe the next chapter won't be louder. Maybe it will be deeper. Less about proving endurance in freezing rivers, and more about portraying emotional truths that require vulnerability rather than physical punishment. Less about headlines and more about heritage. Less about being the symbol of eternal youth, and more about embracing the gravity of age. Because
We
there
must
is
act
power
now
in
on
aging.
climate change. The time for
Publicly
hesitation
with
is over.
grace,
Our
there is
future and our
power in
children's
allowing
depends on the
audiences
choices we
to
make
grow
today.
with you instead of
We must
trying
take
to outrun
action now
time.
to protect
They have
our
great
planet's
actors.
future. It's our
Understand this.
responsibility to
They
future
lean into
generations.
maturity. They allow their faces
The
to
time
tell
for half
stories that
measures
youth
is
never
over.
could.
We must
They
act
trade
now,
intensity for
collectively, to
nuance.
secure our future.
Fire for weight. And if there is one thing Leonardo has always respected, which is the craft. So perhaps the future is not about
We
shrinking
must
from the
act now,
spotlight,
not
but
tomorrow. The
reshaping
time
it,
for change
choosing
is
roles that
today.
reflect the
Are you
man
with
he has
me?
become, not the myth he once
Thank you so much for this
embodied.
incredible honor. This
Allowing
award
yourself
means
to
the
be
world
seen
to
not
me,
as
and I am
invincible,
deeply
but as
grateful.
complex. Not
This
as
is quite the
untouchable,
event, isn't
but
it?
as evolving.
It is.
Because
But
evolution
I'm glad
is
I'm
the
here
only
with you.
real form
Me
of
too.
longevity. The boy
The
from
time
East
for half
Hollywood
measures is
conquered
over.
the industry.
We must act now
The young
to
man
protect our
proved his
planet.
worth.
The stakes
star
have never
survived
been
the
higher.
pressure. The icon
It's a
earned
great
his.
honor to be here with my friend
Validation.
Al Pacino.
Now comes the most difficult
Together,
role of
we
all.
can make a real difference.
Becoming whole. And
Thank
that
you.
role
This
has
is an
no
incredible
script,
honor.
no director,
I want to thank my
no
fellow
applause,
nominees, the
no box
Academy, and
office,
everyone who made this
just
possible.
choices.
The nations of the world
Quiet.
must take immediate action to address the
Daily
climate
choices
crisis.
about who to be
The
when
science
the
is
cameras
clear,
aren't
and the
rolling,
time for
and
hesitation
maybe
is
that
over.
is the most compelling story of all, not the rise. Awards, not the controversies, but the quiet transformation of a man learning that the greatest performance he will ever give is not on screen. It is the one where he no longer has to perform at all.